All right, here we go. It's Travis Neville Podcast. I'm Travis Neville. I wrote this book called The Jossman Method. You can get it all over the place. It's episode 11, I think. Let's see, where are we? No, 10. Episode 10. Episode 10. I had a conversation with some friends last night, and we talked about kind of what the target audience is for this endeavor, this podcast, right? And so far, it's been pretty much been guys, right? I mean, that's who we're talking to here. I really can't tell you much about women. I'm not one. That's kind of the angle. The book is more kind of guy-centric. You know, we talk about guy stuff, but I thought this would be appropriate. You know, as you're going, the whole idea of the book is, hey, here's how you get through difficult shit, right? And for a lot of guys, it's divorce. I mean, that'll fuck up your life. All right, it really will. You know, and there's lots of other things that'll do that for you. Think about the big ones: getting divorced, losing your job, having a big health scare, something like that. You know, going to jail. There's lots of things that can really kind of dive bomb you. But for this episode, I kind of want to talk about the, relationship ending thing, because again, as a result of this conversation last night, I left there thinking, you know what I'm doing? You know what I'm doing with this? A lot of this, especially with the book in particular, I talk a lot about being in the shit and dealing with it, but I don't spend enough time. I don't think I've addressed it at all. You know, how good your life can and will be after you go through it. You know what I mean? And so to that end, I thought we could spend some time talking about what it's like to develop through losing a relationship. What are the steps? What are the things that will help you? And most important, what's waiting for you at the back end of it? You know, what are you going to get out of going through that? You know, what's the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak? Because it is a tunnel. I mean, it can be pretty rough. Anyway, so let's talk about that. I've been single for about 2.5 years, and I've dated some really, really nice girls. I really have. Women, I should probably say. And it's been a journey. You know what I mean? You know, with each of these people that I meet, you learn a little bit more about what you like, a little bit more about what you don't like. You're constantly dialing it in, and that's that can be a positive, it can be a negative. It's positive because you know more about what you want, but it's a negative because now you're even more kind of laser focused on, and it means that your pool gets smaller. You know, and unfortunately that's kind of the way it goes. But that said, I've found this to be true as well. You can have, I don't know, I'll be getting ahead of myself, but I'll just finish this thought. You can have this list, and that's a thing I did. When I was really trying to get through my last big split up, which was, if you guys have probably noticed that I have this tattoo on my ring finger, that's actually her name. And I've had it lasered 7 times, and it is not gone. So I keep going back every 2 months, have them lasered again and lasered again. That's just how it goes. It takes a long time to get rid of it. But obviously, she was pretty important in my life. I was not married to this woman, but, I lived with her for 5 years. And, I had every intention of being with her for the rest of my life. That was my intention. And I think that if you get to that point where, you're cohabitating, you better think that way. You know what I mean? You better be on that page. But anyway, when I was coming out of that one, that's when I wrote the book. Okay, it wasn't right then, but when I was coming out of that one, I had already been divorced 6 years before that, right? So, and that was a different kind of situation. But anyway, as I was coming out of that one, we weren't married, like I said, we were engaged, but we lived together. For all practical purposes, we were married. that's when I wrote the book about my process of getting through that one. I realized, hey, you've developed a pretty good process here, so that's what we'll write about. So I bought this house, and that's when I got back into coaching. Um, that's when I started doing all these things to help people and realizing how important construction projects are and automotive projects and just doing things to feel good about myself. And anyway, I figured out that there's kind of a science to dating once you are past that stuff. So let's back up to when you first get out, okay? When you split with somebody that you've been with for a long time, there are going to be immediate upsides, okay? Um, and one of them, this is the biggest one I would tell you. The first immediate upside when you split with somebody is that there's a tension that's gone. There was some kind of tension in your life. Now, and no matter what the situation is, whether you wanted to stay there and she kicked you out, or you couldn't stand her anymore and you kicked her out, whatever it was, there was tension in your life. There was stress there that is now not there, okay? So in the first situation, you wanted to stay, you wanted it to work out. They say this, and it's true. Women pack their bags 6 months before they leave, which means that for 6 months or more, maybe a little bit less, you knew she didn't want to be there anymore. You're in love with this woman, and you can tell she's just out. She's 1 foot out the door. Let me tell you, that is a stressful situation. That puts some serious gravity onto your heart. You might not even know it that you were dealing with that, but the day you leave, or the day that you split, that tension relieves itself. Now, you got other tensions going on too, like you're missing her and your heart's breaking and all those things, and that's a separate thing, but know that right away that that's an immediate upside. If it's the opposite scenario where you couldn't stand her anymore and you split with her, then the tension is obvious. Like, now you don't have to check in with her all the time, and you don't have to deal with her shit, or however you want to word it, but that tension is gone. And I've heard that from lots of guys as well. Hey, you know what? I clean the house and I go to work, I come back, the shit's still clean. Like small things like that, people get pretty excited about once you split with a partner. That your lifestyle does get simpler. It's just that easy for most people. I sleep on a king size bed, and I can sleep anywhere I want in that son of a bitch. You know what I mean? So there's an upside. So there are always upsides when you get through. Now, of course, the downsides can be devastating. And most of the time that we talk about this stuff, that's what we're covering, is how to deal with those downsides. But know that there are upsides for sure. Also, another upside, no matter what the situation was, no matter whether you thought this was the girl of your dreams, the love of your life, or whatever, you are in an upgrade situation. It's exactly like wrecking a car. Now, I'm a car guy. I live in the Detroit area. I like to work on cars. I like driving a nice car. It's part of who I am. You ball up your car, put it in the ditch, wrap it around a tree, you will mourn the loss of that car probably. But you know too that there were some things that, man, I kind of wish I could. You know what I mean? Like, there's some things that the next one will be even better. Okay. Now that after owning that car, you got another car. Now, I don't mean to devalue women to the point of possessions like a car, but in my experience, if I simplify things, it'll kind of make it hit home for you. Okay. So know that you have an immediate upgrade scenario. Yeah, so that's an upside. But I want to go back to kind of getting out of, going through something and, figuring out how you're going to kind of make a path to go forward. The first thing you're going to have to do is learn how to be by yourself. No matter what this scenario was, you got to learn how to be by yourself. And that could be a million different things. Now, I'll tell you that really you could succinctly state that my book is Learn How to Be by Myself. And what that means is this, or how that correlates is this. Some of the downsides for me, like when I left my ex-wife back in 2012, one of the things that I immediately missed and I didn't realize this was a thing I would miss because it seemed like a hassle when I was married to her, was when I got home at night or whatever, before bed, wherever I was, um, I would check in, right? Maybe I'm up north or I'm with my family. It was always, I'd call her and she'd fucking want to talk for an hour and a half. And it was always, she was always grilling me about some shit or, never trusted me for a second. I was always an alcoholic or whatever the fuck. She had all these things in her head about. None of these things are true, of course. Um, anyway, so that it was a hassle the way that she, I guess, applied it. But that idea of somebody to check in with at the end of the day, somebody to tell about how your day went. Hey, here's a thing that happened today. Or, hey, I had this success I want to share with you. Somebody to say, hey, good job. Or, hey, I've had this thing that fucked up. I don't know what to do. Somebody to be like, hey, well, how are we going to do it? How are we going to fix it? Or just listen. Somebody to check in with at the end of the day. I've realized that to me, that's a thing I like. Like I said, when I was married, I couldn't stand it. But, and again, I think it's just because she just didn't apply it right. But that's a thing you'll miss right away. At least I did. So there's a downside. That's tough. But again, you've got to learn to be alone. All right? You've got to learn to be by yourself. I always call it alone but not lonely. And that's what you have to learn how to be able to do. You can be by yourself, but you don't feel lonely. And, that could be lots of things. Your whole strategy there might just be distraction. Like, I know I can't just sit and think. Because especially in the beginning, when you first get out, it might tear you up. So keep a movie in front of you. Try to hang with your friends as much as you can. I mean, that was a big one for me. I surrounded myself with people like all the time, as much as I could, because I didn't want that wave to hit me all at once. I kind of wanted it to hit me slowly as I could deal with it and manage it. That wave of, holy shit, I'm by myself, right? When you're with somebody for that long, you really get used to it and it becomes your plan, you know what I mean? So work on that. Like I said, could be a lot of things. I can remember, man, weird stuff about going through a breakup. Like for a while, I couldn't listen to music at all, because pretty much every song is about falling in love or falling out of love, or like I couldn't listen to music. So I listened to a lot of books on tape. I listened to podcasts. That's the kind of stuff that I did to, just manage that initial time when you first get out. So once you get through that and you kind of passed the initial triage stage where you're trying to get your bearings back again, and once you kind of have your feet under you and you can kind of lift your head a little bit, the next step is invariably probably going to be dating. I mean, you're going to try to start to look around, and I'll tell you that there are certainly stages of dating. There's no doubt about that. And I'm at the last stage. We'll talk about that in a little bit here, but this is what I've found as I've gone through the dating process. The majority of people that you're going to meet on a dating app, they are not ready to be in a relationship. Now, they're at that kind of what I'm describing right now for you, that beginning dating stage. That's where you are, where they are. Where it's, hey, I just want to, test the waters. Maybe you just, I remember it being like this for me. I just wanted to sit at a bar across the table from a smiling face, somebody who I could have a good conversation with, have a beer, laugh. And women are awesome. Women are great. They're beautiful. They're sexy. They're all these things that, you want to have in your life. You do. I mean, and just to spend a little time like that, a couple hours, that can be refreshing. That can make you feel good. That's another one of those forms of therapy, right? But know where you are in the process. This is a massive mistake that I see a ton of people make, especially women for whatever reason. They do this. You're not ready to be in another relationship, but you miss being in a relationship so much, or whatever the hell it is, that you go out and you try to make one. Like a friend of mine, her sister had been married to this guy for like 8 years, and their divorce isn't even final. And within like a couple of months of them splitting, she's got another dude living in her house. And they're taking vacations together, and fuck, you and I know that's not going to work. I mean, I hope it does. I met the dude. He's a nice guy. They seem real happy together, but this is what she didn't do. She didn't take the time, or she hasn't yet, to fucking heal. Okay? Like, I talked about therapy like crazy, and we had that whole session on therapy. I think that was episode 5. You got to know that when a person that was that important in your life departs, there's a big hole there. There's an injury there. You can't see it, and you might convince yourself you can't feel it, but it's there. And all you're going to do is repeat the same mistakes, or you're guaranteeing failure if you get into another relationship very quickly. You know what I mean? I watched a buddy of mine do the same thing. He had been married to this woman for I don't know how long. They had kids together, I know that. And, I barely knew he had split with her. And he's with this other woman, and they're thick as thieves. And just recently I found out that didn't work. I feel bad about it, but I wasn't surprised. And you got to take some time, And like I said, for whatever women, they do this. They need a guy around. That's more common for women, I should say. I need a partner. I need a man. Because I guess there's a negative social stigma to being a single woman, right? Especially single moms, I guess. But for dudes, it's a little easier. There's no social pressure on us, that's for sure. I don't really feel that anyway. I mean, like I said, I've been by myself for a couple of years now, other than a couple of really good girlfriends in there. But I haven't been remarried, of course. I haven't been engaged or anything like that. But I see all of that as a progression, as moving through that process, right? Now, is it lasting longer than I thought it would? Yeah, I didn't think I'd be single for quite this long, but I kind of had it easy the last time. I got divorced in February, and I was not looking, I was not dating, I was nothing. I was just healing myself up, and you can read about that in the book. I was spending time with friends, and we were at a concert, and I just met this girl, and we started talking, and she was awesome, and she provided a thing that I hadn't had the whole time I was married, and that's a positive, supportive, helpful, smiling, golden ray of sunshine in my life. That's what she was. She was pretty great, especially at that time. And there was no way I was going to be able to say, you know what, I'm not ready. There was no way I was going to be able to do that. It was only 4 months. I had not healed. How it ended up going was, probably the first year of that girl, this one, she dealt with all the shit that I had. I just coming out of a really abusive marriage, and it was tough. And, she just talked to me and helped me deal with it, and, got me through that shit. She was really, really important there. Anyway, unfortunately what that did was set up some bad dynamics in our relationship that we never quite could get past. But my point is this, and I've said it already. You got to trust the process, get through some time. And the process is this. You're going to go through these stages, and I'm going to go back to it. The first one, learning to be alone. Second one, all right, I'm going to get back out there. But know that when you're getting back out there, and the time amount is different for everybody. Let's say it's 3 months for each one of these stages. Okay, 3 months, you're just learning to be alone and trying to get your bearings. And then maybe at that point, you can be like, all right, you know what? I think I might be ready. I'll go try dating again. I'll go on some dates. But know, again, when you're walking in there, I'm not going to meet the woman of my dreams here. I'm just going to go on dates. That's it. And it's up to you. If you're really missing that physical companionship and she's willing and you want to spend the night with her, whatever, I'm not going to tell you that's bad. But, know that it's going to be, don't mistake it for anything it isn't. You're not ready, bro. Sorry. It's not going to work out. You might want it to. It's not going to work out. It's just too soon. And however long that lasts is up to you. I would tell you that, that lasts until you, I don't know, you'll determine that on your own. At some point I went to where, all right, let's back up and talk about dating apps. I know you want to know about that shit. If you're thinking about being single or you're about to be single, you need to know what the situation is with dating apps. So I'll tell you what they are. There are some apps on your phone, and I'm not going to name them by name so that YouTube doesn't kick me off, but where you're swiping. Okay. Yes, I like her. No, I don't like her. Okay. If you meet somebody on there, I'm going to tell you 98% chance there is no way she's the one for you. Sorry, it's just too easy. It's too easy for them. It's too easy for you. It's a layup. Um, you're probably not going to meet her there. There are some other sites that are more, you can get them on your phone too, but they're more kind of desktop where you have to do a long profile and answer a bunch of questions. There's a couple of those, 3 of those I would tell you that, they're going to be a little more girlfriend oriented, where you're going to find somebody that you will go on more than one date with. So you'll get to that stage where you're like, you're there and you're looking, and and I'll tell you that the last 3 girlfriends that I've had over the last couple of years, that I met them at places like that. Hey, you know what? You actually look like we have a lot of things that align. You're looking deeper into them. It's not just what they look like in that ass. You know what I mean? It's who they are as people, what they're interested in. Like, okay, well, there's a lot of things we could probably do together that we'd like. She doesn't live too far away from me. You start looking at more of the logistics of it. I went through that stage and enjoyed it. Like I said, I met some great women and people that I still call my friends. And, and then you get to where I am, where you're just fucking sick of it all. And you just wad it all up, get rid of all of them. And, I'm filling my life with things that I want to do at this point. Like I told you, I'm working on this buggy project in my garage. Football's back up and running. Spending a lot of time doing these podcasts and working on book stuff, marketing, doing research that interests me. My business is starting to accelerate again because spring's about to hit, so I've got a lot of people calling wanting guys. So that's nice. I'm meeting new clients. I'm busy with my own life, and it's actually kind of nice. Yeah, and we'll go back to what I said at the beginning. Do I miss having somebody text at the end of the day and, hey, here's what I did today. Here I had this big win. Here's the thing that went well. Here's some pictures of me at this professional football tryout that we got to coach at. Yeah, I miss sharing that with somebody. I do. But I know that it's going to make it that much more positive when that comes around again. And I've got, like I said, several girlfriends I've had over the past that I'm still friends with that I can talk to. And I found myself one night, I was going to my cabin, and I just got there, and I mean, that's always the thing I would do. Hey, I made it here safe. And, I ended up calling one of my exes, and we just talked, and she at some point goes, Travis, did you just call to tell me about your day? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I did. And it was a nice conversation, and it made me feel better. And she, like I said, we're friends, and, that was cool. But that just reminds me, hey, this is coming in your future. This is a thing you miss that you're going to have, but it's coming. It's coming your way. And I think that's the theme that you need to make sure you're taking away from this. Whatever the things are that you missed about your ex, whatever the things are that you wish she had that she didn't have, the things that you're always like, man, that's coming, okay? All that shit's coming your way. And, this phrase that it comes when you least expect it, that's a nice thing to say. And if it makes you feel better, go ahead and believe that. But to me, I don't know, that doesn't do it for me because very honestly, I always expect it, and that's a good thing, right? I expect these good things to come my way. I do. I expect that they're going to be in my life, and probably sooner than later. But if it's later, that's fine. I look at these today, and it's like I told you, my life's great. I'm doing really well. But this might be the good old days. Like, the coaches will come to my house. I'm a single guy. I don't live far from the school, and we'll hang out. We'll drink a couple beers. And I was saying that to one of the guys the other night. I'm like, this might be the good old days. Because at some point, probably a woman's going to move in here, or I'm going to move in with her. Some shit's going to change. And this house isn't just going to be me as a single dude hanging out with the coaches anymore. So we might look back on these times and think, wow, what a great thing. So appreciate them, I guess is what I'm saying. So that's where I am. Like, I'm looking at my life right now, and I know it's going to change at some point. Because I know I want a partner in my life. I know that. I'd like to have a family, too. And that's really going to change shit. You know what I mean? I'm not too old to do that. I keep kicking it around, but it's a thing I want. I know I'll regret it if I don't do it. And there's probably something else for you that you want to do. Maybe you want to travel with your partner. And I've never had a good travel experience with a woman. I mean, until recently. Never had a good travel experience. It's always been bad. And you know, go back to episode 8, the panic attack, and tell you about how I am on airplanes. I'm not always like that, but I think it's always been a little bit tense for me. You know what I mean? But yeah, that shit's coming your way. Know that. And here's another phrase that was presented to me by a man that I respect. He said, he says this all the time. You're never going to meet the right one if you're always with the wrong one. All right, great. That's real poetic. Thanks, dude. Um, and maybe you're in that position where that is your distraction, where you're dating and you've always kind of got a girl around just as a distraction. And I mean, that's not terribly unhealthy. You know, if it keeps you from spiraling into a terrible place, then maybe it's good. But I would suggest that you fix that situation. So maybe that's what you're doing. But um, I don't know. I think that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I don't think there's much I can do. I've gone through these phases where I'm like, fuck it, get rid of all the ways that I can find women. I'm tired of this shit. And then I'm left with this kind of FOMO of I'm not doing anything proactive to help myself find the right person. I start thinking that way. Like, if you don't find the right person, it's on you because you're not doing anything about it. You know what I mean? I start getting that little guilt in the back of my head. I don't know if that's real or not. I just know that that's a thing that I feel, and so then I'll pick up one of the laptop or desktop apps and get going on one of those and see if I can find somebody to go on a date with or make myself available again or whatever you do. You go through all that stuff. You know, it's waves, right? And then one night you drink too much and do something stupid. Like, again, we've all been through all that stuff. But this is the best advice he gave me. He said, same guy. He said, live the way you would with a partner. And there's a lot to that statement. What does that mean? Does that mean you don't date anybody else? Does that mean you don't go to the strip club or I don't know, whatever the things are that you would do that you think a partner would not like? You define it as you will. But the way I define it is this. If you aren't living the life that you would be living with your partner, then the chances of you running into your partner are lessened. You see what I'm saying? So if you're not keeping yourself healthy, taking care of your things, living the lifestyle that you would want to live. If you're a big hiker, if you're not out hiking, if you're big into computer games and you're not gaming and you're not online, if you're not doing the things that you love, you're probably not going to cross paths with other people who do the things that you love, and that could easily be the right person for you. So that's what it is about living a life that you would live in the way that you would with a partner. And there's this other piece too. I know there's a double standard here. This is a toughie. But it has to do with the sex thing. If you're out there fucking everything you see, you know, and you're just crushing them, maybe that's fun, and you can kind of shoot the shit with your friends about it. But really, when you meet this woman that you're going to love and respect, do you want to know that you were doing that? You were spending all because I mean, now when you are around your friends, maybe one of them's going to say something, or you know, you got to worry about that later on. Like, hey, I was living this life. I'm kind of embarrassed of it in front of her. You know, that's certainly an issue. Is that a thing that you want to deal with? Also, I mean, would you want to know that she was doing that before she met you? You know what I mean? Like, that's just not, that's less than ideal. And here's the real upside of that. Like, I think about, I've got a lot of good friends, and I'm an open book. Literally an open fucking book. And I do these podcasts, and I talk about my life, and I'll tell you when I make mistakes and all that shit. When you meet the right one, it's probably going to be through a connection of yours. And it might be your buddy's wife's sister. It might be, you know, a guy that you work with, you know, his sister-in-law. You know what I mean? Chances are when you meet the right one, it's going to be organic like that. Okay? And really think this through. Like, I think about the guy that gave me this advice. His name's Clint. He's a good friend. He says, you know, live the way that you would if you were with a partner. And here's where it really plays out for me. His wife, She's awesome. We're talking about bringing her on here actually. Um, she's a great lady, smart, respect her. I look up to her. She's great. And if she had an opinion of me that I was this man whore, if she thought that about me, then she wouldn't set me up with somebody she knew. You know what I mean? She'd be like, well, I can't in clear conscience set Travis up with this good girl because I know what he's been doing. You know what I mean? So that's the risk you're playing when you go out there and dick off and do all this dumb shit all the time. At least if people know about it. And people are going to know, okay? That's just how it is. Your life probably isn't like mine, but as far as your transparency, but people are going to know. Shit's going to come around. It just does. So that's really where it is. I mean, live the life that you would live if you were with a partner. Because then I think that things just are going to come your way. It just makes sense. It's almost mathematical that, again, that's where you're going to meet them. You're going to meet the right one through, someone that you know. Because that person's going to know your personality, going to know her personality, and go, you know what? I think this might work. You know what I mean? And what a compliment when that does happen. When somebody does say, hey, you know what? I know a girl that I think you should meet. What a compliment. They're saying such amazing things about you. You know what I mean? To do that. And don't you want to have that, kind of protect that reputation? So that's where I come out on it. Yeah, dating, especially when you're older, it's almost like it's like an old school video game. It's like Frogger, okay? Where you're jumping across the road. You're jumping onto these logs. And the first few that you're jumping on, they're moving. So you got to get off them, okay? And you got to know when it's time to get off or you're going to die. You know, you're jumping across the road, it's the same thing. You might get hit by a giant train wreck of a woman, you know? I've dated a few who have had really fucked up pasts, sexual, rape, underage, all this terrible shit. And, they have their lives together, but that shit doesn't go away, dude. I mean, I hate saying it, but when you see that shit, you know it's going to be problems. When they're comfortable enough to share that with you, that's great. But they're going to be trouble, dude. As much as you want to help them, you can't. You can't. They're grown-ups. If they haven't helped themselves, they're not going to help themselves. It's not going to happen. You're not going to do it. So those are trucks that you avoid. Like it's this minefield. And then you get to the median where I am. And I'm just like, fuck it, I'll watch the world go by. You know what I mean? I'm comfortable here. I got grass. There's no problems. There's no issues. Good to go. So that's kind of what to expect. Know that as you go through the divorce process or the split up process, it's going to be hard. Don't expect yourself to just be fine, because you're not. You're not. You go back and listen to the therapy, episode 5 about therapy. You're not okay. There's parts of you that are just fine. But your heart and your soul and shit, it's not all right, man. You got to get that shit fixed up. And you do that by doing some deep thinking, some meditating, some therapy, some soothing, some avoiding it, some time not thinking about it at all. That's probably the most valuable thing. And then when you do get into it, you can get into it and really think about, where am I? How am I feeling? How am I thinking about this? Know that it's going to come up. It's going to be tough to deal with. It is. It's hard. Reach out. Talk to your friends. You will be shocked if you're the guy who's like, well, I don't want to think I'm a pussy. You will reach out and talk to your friends, and they will be like, dude, I've been through it. I've been there with you. That you will be shocked at how your friends will be so supportive. I always have been. That's for sure. Like when I had the panic attack, I reached out to some friends, and they just immediately rallied to help me. I felt like a pussy for sure, but that wasn't the way it was received, because I found out that a lot of people have been through it. A lot of people have been through divorce. I know you know it. They have. It isn't this big bad wolf. It's tough, but you will get through it. And at the back end of it, if this is what you choose, there is this wonderful partner that is in your life who is helping you. You are helping her or him, however you want to do it, how things are going. And you will define it. You will define who that person is and what that relationship is based on all these experiences you've had. Some good, some bad, but you will be making it exactly what you want it to be. And it'll be great. There'll be problems that you'll deal with, that's for sure. but they won't be the problems that you've dealt with already because you don't have the tolerance. You're not going to be able to deal with that anymore, so you won't date anybody who has those issues. It might take some time. Might be the gong show for a while, like it has been for me, but you'll get there, brother. Okay. You got any questions? Reach out to me. This is the Travis Neville Podcast. You can get me on email at jospinmethod@gmail.com. You can find my Instagram at the Jospin Method. I think it's at the Jospin Method. That's Instagram. Haven't been posting a lot of stuff on there lately because I've been focusing on the podcast, but I got to get some stuff up. You can get my book at Barnes & Noble. You can get it at on Amazon. You can get the audiobook at Audible. You can get this podcast here on YouTube. This is episode 10. We've got a few more before this. I've got some cool ones coming up. Actually, little tease. Cassie from the book. I talked to her on the phone the other day, and I think we're going to be able to get her on the show. Okay? I think we're going to be able to get her on the show. You guys will get to see her and meet her. So if you read the book, that's a thing. A lot of people ask me about her. But anyway, that's it. Travis Neville Podcast, episode 10. Have a great week. Happy Monday.